Hi, it's Alex from You Should Craft, and today I'll show you how to make this modified daisy granny square. So the reason it's modified is because a lot of the other daisy granny square patterns that you'll see have bumps or ridges, like they've used bobble stitches for the petals. And that just wasn't the look that I was going for, so I modified it a little bit to make your whole flower flat. So I'll go ahead and show you how to make this. The first thing you're going to need is your H 5mm crochet hook. And then you'll need 3 colors of yarn. This is just 4-ply worsted weight yarn. I used a charcoal gray for my border, a pale yellow for my petals, and then a darker yellow kind of gold color for my center. But again, any 3 colors that you want will totally work with this project. So you're going to start with your center color, and we're going to begin with a magic ring. So wrap the yarn around your fingers. Put your yarn under that bottom strand and kind of around the top and pull that through. We're going to chain 2 stitches. This will count as your first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet 11 more into our magic ring. Cool. So when you have all 12 stitches, double check just to make sure it's right. So remember, we're counting that chain 2 as our first double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you'll do my favorite part about the magic ring, which is the magic part. So just pull on this strand to close it up. And then you could join with a slip stitch if you wanted. I'm a big fan of the invisible join technique, so I always trim my yarn, and then you'll pull it all the way through and use a tapestry needle to weave in that end. So to work an invisible join, you're going to find the top of that chain 2 that you started with. So here's the 1 and 2. And then you're going to put your hook into the stitch that's right next to it. So if this is our stitch 1, this is the top of like stitch 2. So put your needle in, and then you're going to pull it around and put it into that final stitch, so our 12th double crochet. And then I always just also kind of push it around the edge, like, of the center part. So now you can't tell where we started because we did that invisible join. So you can finish weaving in your ends, and then we'll go ahead and get started on that second round. And once you've woven it in satisfactorily, you just trim it. I'll do the back a little bit. And then trim your end. So now you have your starting circle. So that's round 1 of only 3 rounds for this granny square. So we can kind of set that off to the side while you set up your materials for the next round. So this will be, for me, I used this pale yellow color, but you again are using whichever color you chose. So you're going to join your yarn. I like to begin with a slip knot. And then you can join at any point in this little circle that you made. It's kind of like a little daisy coin. But so put your hook through and then loop your slip knot over the top. And then tighten it up a little bit. And I'll pull it through part way. And then chain 2 because this will be a double crochet. And we're just going to continue crocheting. I'm going to crochet over this tail end just to help start the weaving in process. So you'll yarn over and we're actually going to double crochet 2 together. So you'll start off just like a regular double crochet. And then you'll stop. So here's our first partial double crochet. We'll yarn over, pull through, yarn over. So now we have our chain 2 on here, and then 1 and 2 of those partial double crochets. So there's our DC 2 together. So that's it. And then we'll chain 1, yarn over, and we're going to DC 3 together in the next stitch. So the 3 will look exactly the same as the 2 except with 1 more little partial double crochet. Ooh. Sometimes my yarn kind of splits. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3 partial double crochets. Yarn over and pull all those loops through. And there you go. This time we're going to chain 2 though. This will become our very first corner. So in the next stitch we're going to DC 3 together again. And then we have our 3, 1, 2, 3 of those little partial double crochets. Yarn over, pull everything through. We're going to chain 1. This will be our side. And on each side you'll have 3 of these little, I don't even know what to call them. They're just DC 3 together blobs. Oh, clusters, that's the word I'm looking for. So you're gonna have 3 of these clusters on each side. So here's our first side, and when we finish, we'll do the third one, but then we have our corner right here, and then 1, 2, and we'll put a third one before we do our next corner. So pull all your loops through, chain 1, and then in the next stitch, crochet another double crochet 3 together, or DC 3 together if you're looking at it in a pattern. So here's our 3, pull it all through, and I chain 2 because again this is going to be our next corner, and then we're just going to double crochet 3 together in the next one. So you'll continue this pattern until you've finished crocheting your square, and then you'll finish up where you'll have 1 final DC 3 together before you'll join to this starting 1. So now I've crocheted my final DC 3 together stitch. So I'll chain 1 because again this will end up being part of our very last side. So at this time you should have 4 corners right here. Those are the ones with the chain 2s between them. And then you should have 3 clusters on each side. So we've got our last one, and again you can either join with a slip stitch or you can trim and do the invisible join technique, which is my favorite one. Although for this it doesn't matter as much because a lot of your stitches are going to be covered up by the next row of crochet. And this is a little bit weirder when there's a chain. You just have to make sure you're kind of lining it up right. But you'll still pull through, and then you won't be able to see like which stitch had your join, which is the coolest part about that technique. And then you could just weave in your ends a little bit and then trim them off. And how much you weave in your ends definitely depends on what you're using this project for. I use these on a pillow that fits on my guest bed, so I wasn't like super concerned about the stitches falling off. But if you were using these for like a project for a child or something that would get a lot of wear and tear, then you would really want to make sure that you weave in your ends well so that everything stays together. Alright, so now we're going to work our final round. For me, I'm going to use this charcoal color that I used to make the border. To join, again, we're going to make a slip stitch. And then you'll put your yarn through one space before a corner. Put the slip stitch on the top, tighten it up a little bit. And then chain 2. So we're going to do 2 double crochets in the same space. And then you're gonna do 3 double crochets and a chain 1, and then 3 more double crochets in your corner. So here's our first 3 double crochets, and then chain 1. Yarn over and do 3 more double crochets in that same corner space. And again, the corners from your daisy are the ones that had the 2 chains, but you should be able to see that they look pretty square. Not super square, but definitely more square than the other parts. So like here's a corner, and here's a corner. There's also a wider gap, so that'll help you find them. But basically you're just going to continue around the square, crocheting 3 double crochets in all of those side spaces. That's where we chained 1 in the previous round. And then the 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet in your corners. So here's another side piece. I'm going to do a chain, or not chain, a 3 double crochets here in my 3rd side space. then I'll do a 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet in that corner. So here is what one finished side looks like from corner to corner. So you have 3 double crochets in all the side spaces and 3 double crochets, 1 chain, and 3 more double crochets in the corner. So you'll just continue crocheting with that same pattern as you go around your square, and then that will finish it up. When you've finished everything, you'll just join with that same invisible join technique that we have been using, and then you can make a whole bunch more granny squares. I used 16 for my daisy granny square pillow that I posted on the You Should Craft blog, but you could make so many things with granny squares, like blankets. I've seen people make like mug koozies. You can make clothes or purses. I mean, granny squares can really be used for anything. So now that you have these daisy granny squares, be sure to use your creativity and make all sorts of awesome stuff with them, and then share it with hashtag You Should Craft on social media so that I can see what you've made. So again, here's what our finished square will look like, and that's it. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the blog for more cool crochet patterns and craft tutorials. Thank you so much for watching.